All right, it's Lambo's Sports featuring the Big Brother. Two games you have to talk about. UCLA only scored 7 points against Utah. That's a shocking. And then Washington State is undefeated, and they beat Oregon State. So that there's a lot of it's a good thing for college football, but I'm shocked that UCLA scored 7 points and Oregon State doesn't beat Washington State, which nobody predict Washington State to really do anything, or we just really don't talk about them like that. But I gotta go to this UCLA game. Dante Moore, 5-star freshman, but my God, 15 of 35.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, of Lord of mercy. 1 touchdown, 1 pick, only threw for 234 yards. A team in total only rushed for 9 yards. Now, I don't like the fact that he got negative 51 yards rushing. The quarterback, that's probably based off sacks. So the Utah defense must have really got him good, especially that UCLA offensive line is probably terrible. I'm not concerned at UCLA as a whole, but how far can break down this game? But how far can Utah still keep winning? I mean, they just keep finding ways to win. Nate Johnson only had 9, completions, only 17 pass attempts. Didn't turn over the ball. They combined for at least 100 yards rushing, and Utah won in the defense, but Nate Johnson did have about 3 fumbles. So, what's going on here?
Yeah, this game sucked. That's what's going on. This game was so boring, dude. And like you said, UCLA only scored 7. The Utah offense only scored 7 as well. Like, there were 2 offensive touchdowns this entire game, and the 14 that Utah has, the first 7 was on the first play of the game, pick 6, against, Dante. So, and yes, to your point, it was that he got sacked 7 times. So it was ugly. They were getting to him in bunches, 7 times, 11 tackles for loss. Obviously, you mentioned that they only had 9 rushing yards as a team. Yeah, I don't know. Nate Johnson, obviously 3 fumbles. He only lost 1, but it hasn't been like him to just be putting the ball in danger or anything. I mean, he didn't throw the ball well by any means, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't putting them in positions to where they would be losing possession or anything. The run game has got to be better. You can't, 102 yards is fine in a game like this where you don't need a bunch, but I think it's kind of been an emphasis so far working with, Nate Johnson primarily as their backup until Cam comes back. It's been an emphasis to run the ball well, and they only ran it at a 2.1 yards per carry clip, which is why they only scored 1 offensive touchdown, because they couldn't run the ball. This game was just a sleeper, bro. It was a snooze fest. You could have fallen asleep, waking up, and it would have been the same. Like, you wouldn't even know that you missed anything. I don't know. I think it was really just UCLA letting Utah manhandle them on the other side of the ball. That's really all it was. Neither offense played well. I really don't have too much to say on the game. I'm going to reiterate that I'm going to take Utah until they give me a glaring reason not to take them, just because I said that before the season even started. I think that they're a really good team, and I'm going to ride it until, the train falls off the tracks, which it came close. But, it didn't happen here. But you can't be having games with 220 yards of offense. You can't be having that. They got very lucky that their defense, not lucky, but they were very fortunate that the defense played as well as they have played. And really all year, the defense has been great, but they needed it big time today, only having 200 yards of total offense.
Yeah, I mean, Utah, you're right. I mean, I could take this L to the chin. That's fine with me. I thought UCLA would do something better offensively. It was a great defensive game by both teams. I like that. I mean, Pac-12 normally doesn't play a lot of defense, but that's early in the season. We'll see how they do at the end of the year. But I don't think Utah's going to be bad. I mean, excuse me. I don't think UCLA is going to be bad. They only lost, 2 games last year, so I'm not panicking on UCLA. I'm just shocked that they only scored a career low 7 points. It's the first time since 2002 that they only scored 7 points. So I'm just very shocked that they only scored 7. So I think they'll work on some things. The offensive line needs work. The quarterback, like I say, he's new. He's a freshman. I mean, you gotta take the hits and licks sometimes. I mean, it is what it is in college football. It's not really too much you can do to try to avoid mistakes. You can avoid some of them, but you have to go through the mistakes to get yourself as a better player. But this game, Washington State pulls off Oregon State. DJ Uwaluge is the Clemson transfer. Like I said, he had, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, but he was 17 for 34. This was an upset despite Oregon State rushing for 242 yards. And for all of a sudden, Cameron Ward is going off. I mean, 28 to 34, 4 4 touchdowns, no pick, had a QBR of 93. We're not talking about Cameron Ward enough. How do you feel about Washington State? Because, I mean, I'm telling you, they had 2 receivers over like 300 yards combined, over 160 for each individual. But their wide receiver core for Washington State is nasty.
Sheesh. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Good God. 7 for 174 and 8 for 159. 3 touchdowns for one guy, another touchdown for another. Yeah, I mean, I'll be just flat out honest here. I didn't watch this game. But damn, I really wish I did. Good Lord. Cameron Ward needs to be talked about more, I think. I think I'm agreeing with you. What does he look like all year? He's yet to throw an interception this year. He's got the 10th best QBR in the country at an 86.4, and he's at 1,400 passing yards. Good God. Why are we not talking about this guy more? Played great against Wisconsin. Whooped Colorado State 50 to 24. And then this week, obviously, plays his heart out. So, yeah, man, good God. This kind of gives me more confidence about Colorado playing against Oregon State later in the year. Not to belittle Washington State at all, but I just wasn't expecting this. I thought that they were, 21st in the country because they were still unbeaten. And, one of those, like the Wisconsin win's a good win, but they played Colorado State and some FCS school as the other two. So, I wasn't really super high on Washington State at all. But this game, I mean, I don't really have too much to say. Like I said, I wasn't able to watch it, but they shut down DJ, who has been playing decent for the first few games of the season. Obviously not today or yesterday or Saturday, dumbass. 50% throwing, under 200. I don't know if the pick was his fault or not. They had a good running game. And damn. I really wish I watched this game. That's my bad.
Well, yeah, I think for the terms of this game, high scoring game for both teams. Like I said, Oregon State is still trying to be that dog, but they're the little brother under Oregon. So, they're not as big as they once was. I think, like I said, Washington State is something y'all need to really pay attention to look at when it comes to these games. I'm not saying that Washington State is going to be a top 10 team. They could fall in the top 15. That does depend on their schedule. But for Oregon State, I think it's a positive going forward. I mean, like I said, close game against a team you're not supposed to that basically a team that you're expecting to beat, but you really didn't beat them. I'm not really worried about Oregon State. I think DJ Uliga will bounce back. He's with a better team. He's rebuilding. They have great receivers. They have 2 great running backs, by the way, if you rush for 242 yards. So I think it's a positive for Oregon State going forward, but we do have to be careful. We do have to watch out for Washington State. In general, they could make some things happen. I feel like they could make some upsets happening that are going forward in the future. But like I said, this game was a high-scoring game. Offenses could score. I thought it would be somewhat a mid to low-scoring game, just I suggest, because like I said, Washington State's not really known. We don't talk about them at all. So for the sake of Washington State, their schedule going forward in the Pac-12, they play UCLA next, which is going to be a tough one. Then they play Washington State, Oregon, Arizona State, Stanford, California, Colorado at the end of the season in November, and then they play Washington. So I think Washington State is probably the third team that you can pick in the Pac-12 this season, but don't be surprised. Cameron Ward needs to somewhat be talked about as well. But like I said, I'm not surprised. I've seen a little bit of Cameron Ward. I think he'll do some great things going forward for this team. Like I said, he's a junior, so he could be a part of the Heisman candidate maybe next year. I'm not sure about this year because there's so much talent from Bo Nix to Caleb Williams to Drake May to Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter going down. So I'm not really sure about this. But next, going forward, next episode, we're gonna talk about who has a better chance to win the national championship. Is it Texas or is it Florida State? Now, the reason behind it is we will explain later in the episode as far as detailing wise, but both teams did struggle 2 years ago, and now they're in the top 5 or top 10 exactly. So we'll see how they go. Both teams are 4-0. Which ones the brothers will find out which ones are confident with to take a team to the national championship.